I find with Greta Thunberg, is that how you say her name? Greta Thunberg. It's caused a lot of division. It's their way of creating chaos, and people's opinions are clashing with other opinions. Um, um, I just thought it's just creating confusion because people are saying, yeah, there is climate change, and other people saying, no, there's no climate change. And I just thought it's just creating, it's just not helping. Because people
Yeah,
like her
that's
and some people don't like her. Um,
yeah, I mean, I totally see what you're saying. That's what they want. They want, it's like divide and conquer and
yeah,
it's
that's it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not about whether it's good or bad or whether right or wrong. It's just like what makes sense, and all this CO2 emissions, scare tactics, it's just nonsense. Because, there's been times on the planet, proven by science and stuff that when there's high levels of CO2, there's high levels of oxygen because the CO2 is what the plants use. So CO2 is good. The more CO2, the more plants grow. The healthier they grow, the higher they grow, and they produce more oxygen for all the animals that breathe oxygen. So yeah, what the issue is the poisoning and polluting of everything. It's not CO2. Yeah. And the solution is just simply making better choices, like not producing so much waste or using free energies that have been suppressed for the longest time, and just simple things like this.
And do you think the Americans are claiming that Iran has bombed the Saudi Arabian, the Saudis, like oil refinery? They're claiming Iran did it, but I think that's all a hoax to just to raise the price of petrol and make everybody pay more. I know we shouldn't be using petrol, but is that their sort of hoax to people to suffer more financially through paying more for fuel?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even hear about this, but they're always doing these kinds of things. It's just always, they're always creating something to just create chaos, and
Mm.
that's what they do. They're really good at it, the world controllers, and so they just take people's focus away from becoming more aware and making better choices. It's so easy for them, and yeah, they just always creating more wars. Like Obama created more wars and killed more people than any other president, but he's like proclaimed as this wonderful dude who really is just an awful murderer and everything. So yeah, that's what they do. They just create chaos and distractions and destruction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm very interested in what I read about Donald Marshall, and I think about that a lot. Like the things he says are just so. It's just I can't describe. How do you say? I it sounds like what he has experienced is true, but there's a part of my mind can't accept it. That all the things that go on in these underground bases and um, the torture and the terrible things that go on there. Um, I found out about Donald Marshall through listening to one of the broadcasts, one of the say New You broadcasts, and I don't know. Have you read his website? DonaldMarshallRevolution.com.
Kelsey says that she talks and posted about him a lot. She knows more about that stuff than me. I haven't heard of him per se, but she's explained, these underground bases and things and what goes on there, and yeah, so I understand what you're referring to. And yeah, there's a lot of these things like the Pizza Gate and child sacrifices, ritualistic sacrifices, and the cloning and all these things that go on. Yeah, it's a lot, and yeah, it's a lot to investigate it, but it's necessary at the same time to really understand how bad it is here. It's a purposely poisoned prison planet, and once you really face that and faced it, you agreed to it, and you decided to come here and experience this place so that you could wake up to your real awareness and what is real. And so when you have that recognition, you can decide to make better choices every moment and just keep becoming more aware, and then share what you experience and what you recognize of this true reality life is, which is so cool and awesome. And then the comparison of how things are here is just huge, and then you can become less and less and less attached to it and less affected by it. Of course, you will still have that personal self, that physical body here at the same time. But yeah, it's a lot to investigate and to become more aware here, and that's why a lot of people decide to just stay the same and do nothing. But yeah, we are the real risk takers. And yeah, did you want to share some more about what you learned from David Marshall?
Oh, he says many of the Hollywood stars are cloned, and they do body takeovers, and there's creatures are called the Vril that live underground, and they can take over people's bodies, and and all the world leaders can meet underground as cloned bodies, and when I see the world leaders on TV, on television, they act like they don't like each other, or like, say, Vladimir Putin is doing bad things and this and that. But actually, are they really friends down in the military bases? Like, and they're all just putting on an act. And like apparently the Vatican, the Pope, and everything goes down to these underground bases as well. It's hard to believe that's true, but it seems like it could be true.
Yeah, and it's not really about believing. It's just, listening to someone else's real experience, and then you can explore these things on the real side to get like a confirmation too. But there's more than just, Donald Marshall talking about it. There's a lot of people, and yeah, I understand what you mean. The personal self, it's just like really scary, but yeah, that's how it is here. And it's pretty sad, and it's pretty horrific, but that's what motivates me to keep going and share something wonderful with this world that really needs it.
Yeah. I'm still a bit self-conscious or worried about being ridiculed, really, when I've told people about the real guides and that. They think I'm crazy. My family think I'm crazy. and I've posted things on Facebook, but nobody has wanted to discuss it with me or acknowledge it or want to know more about it or anything. Nobody here in my circle of friends and relatives. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we all go through that. Yeah, I mean, I was like, I was just a couple years ago, I found the new you. I was 21 years old, and no one I grew up with or knew, where I'm from Auckland, New Zealand, and, spent time around the whole country. And yeah, no one I knew was really interested. I had one friend who listened and was interested, but he never pursued it or anything. But, the more you come on these calls, like Olga said, we do have other calls, but they're at, like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. your time or 5 a.m. So it might be harder to come on. There is one tomorrow that is, I think it's more easy for you guys. It is 5 hours earlier than this one, so like 11 a.m. your time. That's the step up call. There should be about 10 people on there with like newer people and coming along to share. But also on Facebook, a fun thing to do is just to go to groups, like cloning groups or something, and then you can just like add a bunch of people. You can click the members section and add a bunch of friends, like in the new members or members with things in common, or you can even find members that live in the same city as you and in different groups, like even groups like, light workers or spiritual groups or whatever, just to add people that are like aware of more, and then those people will see what you post, and you can even post things like what we're sharing in those groups, and then those people will see it and they'll start, seeing your posts on your wall and like paying attention that way. And yeah, because when I started this, I didn't even really use Facebook, only really Messenger as a way to communicate with my friends in different countries or different places. And I only had like 400 friends or something, and now I have like 3,000 or something, just because I've been adding people, and then people just start adding me from different places and different groups. So yeah, I understand, and it's a bit of fun. It's a real challenge to relate to these funny people that don't want to wake up. And when they say things like "you're crazy," you could just say, "Oh, I'm just making sense in a senseless world," or, "Oh yeah, I'm crazy." You can just agree with them, have fun with it. Just say something silly, and eventually, as you keep going and keep becoming more aware, then people will start to see, they'll start to see it eventually. I see it with, people I've known, and, because I share things about the natural environment, I share about all sorts of different things, and I'm just making sense. I'm very real, and people do start to see it, and it's like Dwayne said, he read Paul Twitchell's books. He studied them when he was younger, and he still went through the whole process of having a family and a kid and everything, but he learned to remove any emotional attachment from those relationships, even though he kept them for a certain time. And so that's something else you can focus on, and just become detached from this whole physical realm, because everything here is just physical. It's just a physical hologram simulation of life, and it will pass, and yeah, it's every you gotta like learn to recognize the isness that supports everything here, and not just the physical realm but the other realms too. So yeah, it's a real adventure, and every kind of experience and process you go through, you can learn a whole lot. So yeah, you just kind of have fun with it. But there's a couple of suggestions of things you can do, because yeah, I understand the position, and we talk to funny people out in the public here, but there's something there's some way that you can relate to everybody. So yeah, it's fun. You just learn to be creative and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Um, That's about all I have to share at the moment. So if you want to move on to somebody else, if you like.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Deborah. It was fun to hear from you.
Okay, thank you. Um,
Did you want to share something, Olga?
I was when Debbie was talking about Don Marshall. Um, if you haven't heard of that stuff before, it can be quite shocking. Before I, found Dwayne the Great Writer, I had been in contact with a lady called Anna Ma. I don't know if any of you had heard of her. She calls herself a light worker, a spiritual worker, and she is really a very pleasant, lovely woman. And she has her story how her father wanted to have more power in his life. He was already a 33-degree Mason, and he wanted more power in his life. So what he did was he sold his daughter to the Nephilim. Now, a lot of people don't know where the Nephilim actually sit in society, but the Nephilim actually go all the way back to the days of Noah. So if you've ever read the Bible in Genesis, well, that's Noah who built the ark. And one of the reasons, as the story goes, he built the ark because the Nephilim were on the earth and committing fornication, with the humans. And they were creating hybrid children. So she was sold way back then to the Nephilim as a slave. So she incarnated every lifetime. And every lifetime she came back, she was a slave to the Nephilim. And she has some amazing stories that she tells of, the torture that she went through as a child with her father having sold so he could have more power within the, Freemason movement. And it wasn't until this lifetime that she said she actually broke free from that agreement and that contract that her father had sold her into. So it took many, many lifetimes for her to break free from that. But what I found is interesting after, being introduced to Dwayne, the great writer, Dwayne Eva, the Newman, was that even though these people do free themselves from these agreements, they are still in creation. And that's what's really opened my eyes, with the real guides and the new you, especially the new you, and how you can remember your dreams, because it's just like you are in another lifetime when you're dreaming or on the real side. And then you wake up and you just try to remember where you were in that dream because it was so good or something was going on and you just cannot remember. But if you sing the new you, it comes back. You start focusing on your dream and it starts to come back, and then you can write it down. And one thing I was reading Dwayne's book, which is Dream Visions. I was reading a page of that yesterday. I get some downtime sometimes. And what really I found really profound in that book was that, the real side is only a breath away. When you actually think of that is really incredible, and you can experience that every time you wake up. That the real side is only a breath away, and it's just that breath of waking up, and you can easily forget it, But when you sing New You, you can actually remember it again, and you can write it down, and so you can remember your experiences. I just found that when I learnt a bit about what Anna Ma had gone through, we know that the controlling side of the control system here, they do some horrific things, and it's best if we can sort of, get our focus away from that and focus on what's real and what we can do and what we can share. with people. And I've actually just got some stickers printed up with Reba Zartars and the Real Guides and all those ones that we post on Facebook. And what I'm going to do, because I don't celebrate Christmas, I haven't celebrated Christmas for something like 20 years. And I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these stickers down the front of my shop, so down one side of my shop. It's going to be really cool. And so I'm going to put them, underneath each other from the top of the window all the way down to the ground. I'm going to put these stickers of, the New You, the Real Guides, Dwayne, Eva, Dwayne, and all of that stuff that we post on Facebook, just one side of it down there. And when people come in and ask why I've posted, I'm just going to say, well, I don't celebrate Christmas, so I decided to put that up, and that's real hope for all men. So I just thought I'd share that, what I'm sharing with everybody out there.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing, Olga. That's fun. Yeah, we don't celebrate Christ Mass, but yeah, that's fun. You can have fun with that. You can just say, well, instead of celebrating, something that doesn't make sense, I thought I'd share something that does. Yeah, but you can buy my stuff. You can buy my stuff for Christmas if you want. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool what you shared, and